For generations, women have been silenced. We have been treated as property. We have been told we can't vote. We have been shushed in the church. We have had our voices trained for silence. But that is not the 2026 reality. The 2026 reality, especially in the United States, shows that women-owned businesses account for approximately 39.2% of all US businesses, representing 14.5 million firms. These businesses employ approximately 12.9 million people. Women-owned firms generate approximately 3.3 trillion in annual revenue. And women now own at least 35% of US employer firms, meaning businesses that have employees. The 2024 stats show that women started 49% of the new businesses. Basically, we're at 50-50% at this point. And for many of us, as women in leadership, stepping forward and having our voices matter is still a problem. Many of us want to hide behind the logos, hide behind the company names, and we actually, some of us think it an upgrade, a boost when we don't have to show up at all, when we don't have to answer the phone. So in other words, we are even further buried in the system. I propose to you that having a strong personal brand is very, very, very vital. I want you to think Elon, not Tesla. I want you to think Taylor Swift, not her biggest hit. Because in Taylor Swift's case, the hit didn't make Taylor. Taylor made the hit. And these days, the personal brand is very, very, very important. So having a strong personal brand will not happen by accident or luck. A strong personal brand is built, and the architectural blueprint for having a strong personal brand is baked into the Proverbs 31 story, and we're going to unpack that today.
Money should never be the goal, but it is a fantastic outcome of doing the right things and doing the right things right.
By the way, having a strong personal brand and pursuing that as a Christ follower is not about vanity or personal glory. Let me just repeat that. Pursuing a personal brand and growing your personal brand as a Christ follower is not about vanity or personal glory. And today's study is very personal to me because this is a study I needed for me, and I'm sharing it with you. This is the Bible on Business and Influence, and I'm your host, Dr. Trudy Beerman. We meet Sundays, 8 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for joining live or later. If you happen to be in the Tampa area, from time to time, we host this Bible study in person in my studio. There will be an RSVP link. You can tap in and then we can meet in person, hugs, pray with and for each other. And I will, if you're in the studio, tap you to either read the scripture or pray something. We also have a mobile app. I invite you to download this app because not only can you join the study on the go from the app, but the app also houses a community. So we can actually begin to connect with each other globally and form connections, real connections with people of like mind. Also housed in the app is the Bible on Business book, which was a bestseller at the time, and the workbook that accompanies it. Now, it's housed in the app at no cost to you, but the workbook is interactive in the app, and so you can notate your insights, your ahas, your prayers, whatever. It will save it and keep your progress. So let's see what the Bible has to say today about becoming an influential leader using biblical principles. This is the point in the study where I remind you that I am coming at this study not so much from a theological breakdown of the text, but more of an application of what can we pull from this to immediately apply in our lives, in our businesses. If you have any theological challenge with anything I say, it's very possible because again, I am not attempting to break it down from a theological perspective, although I do acknowledge a theological as well. So if you do have any challenges with that, you can leave the comment, but I encourage you to be like the Bereans, study the word of God for yourself, see what the Lord reveals to you, or approach your spiritual guide or your pastor and have them help you work through any of the challenges of clarity. Now, I did do a Bible study of a similar topic, building a strong personal brand, but that study, which I will put a link for you in the description, was more thematic. It was not like today's, which is going to be taking all of the study from the Proverbs 31 verses 10 through 31. So that one was thematic. This is strategically only coming from Proverbs 31 verses 10 through 31. So today's topic is, again, a masterclass in building a personal brand, the Proverbs 31 strategy for female leaders. Now, I do invite you to read this text for yourself. Last week, we looked at the mindset behind this Proverbs 31 woman, because I promise you, she did not wake up one morning with all of what we see here fleshed out in this section of the Bible. She was a woman of a certain mindset, a certain predisposition, and because of how she believed and thought is what moved her into action. So go back and see last week's lesson that helped us understand who she might have been as a person to help her do the things that we're going to talk about today, because every generation produces its version of normal. What is normal for a woman? And if in 2026 a young woman grows up seeing financial dependence, poor planning, victim thinking, constant anxiety, reactive decision making, and lack of stewardship, that will be perpetuated. So ladies, I'm inviting you to help change the narrative, change the pattern, break the pattern in yourself and for your daughters and the generations coming behind us, because we are technically unconsciously accepting this narrative, this normal for women, but we can change it because we are at the front line of organizations today, and we have to be in leadership. And I encourage you to build that strong personal brand, again, not for vanity or for personal glory, but for executing your God-given purpose here on earth. Women are inheriting a model, and we today can stand as the breaker of that pattern and break the pattern for our women, for tomorrow, for our daughters, and for those we mentor. The women listening today, you may be 27 and single, 42 and divorced, 58 and widowed, 63 and starting over, working 2 jobs, caring for aging parents, launching a ministry, or building a business. The question is not, do I currently have a vineyard, as the Proverbs 31 woman has? The question that I want us to answer for ourselves is, am I developing the habits of the woman who planted the vineyard? You see, as we read through the text, we will see she considers, she buys, she plants, she works, she watches, she provides, she teaches, she strengthens, she prepares. Read through Proverbs 31, 10 through 31. These words are verbs. These are action words that this woman has taken. This chapter of Proverbs 31, 10 through 31 is not describing a woman of status. It is describing a woman's behavior, the behavior that creates this rare gem. Now, theologically, it says that this is King Lemuel, and many theological breakdowns of this suggest that King Lemuel may actually be Solomon. And so King Lemuel is receiving wisdom from his mother. Now, if this is a different king or if it is Solomon, the lesson remains the same. The speaker of this text is a ruler, a king, a man with access to wealth, power, influence, and choices. And when this king, Lemuel, whether it's Solomon or not, he describes this ideal woman, and he does not begin with her beauty. I need to stress this because beauty is not what is valued here. He says she is far above rubies. It's an extraordinary statement for a king who has access to any woman that he likes. If Lemuel is indeed Solomon, it adds further depth to this study, because Solomon had wealth beyond imagination, hundreds of wives, hundreds of concubines, international fame, access to virtually any woman in the known world at the time. And yet the woman in Proverbs 31 is not celebrated here for her youth, for her beauty, or for her status. Instead, this king is saying this woman is so rare, and he is praising her for her wisdom, her stewardship, her productivity, her preparation, her influence, and her trustworthiness. And this absolutely supports branding and brand interpretation, which is where my business lives. Okay, the highest compliment of this woman here in Proverbs 31 is not that she's beautiful. The highest compliment is that she is valuable. And this is very much a nom de valeur lesson. Nom de valeur is the name of my signature branding program. Nom de valeur is French for name of value, and it's taken from Proverbs 22 verse 1, which is above with riches, seek a good name. So the Proverbs 31 woman considers a field and bought it. She plants a vineyard. She sold goods in the marketplace. This woman understands profitability. And thousands of years later, nearly 40% of American women are business owners. And women are starting half of all the new businesses being started today. Perhaps the Proverbs 31 woman is actually not an exception to female leadership. Perhaps she is the example of what female leadership should look like, what we should model when it is combined with wisdom, stewardship, and preparation. This woman was not waiting for permission. She was creating value. And modern women entrepreneurs are doing the same thing. The difference is not whether this woman can lead, build, invest, and create wealth. Scripture has settled that debate long ago. And success leaves clues. And when we look at the Proverbs 31 woman, we see something we can model. We see something we can duplicate. We see success that is particularly a strong branding message. So let's start with the definition of branding. Because one thing that I know from my work is that we're not all using the same dictionary when it comes to understanding what a brand is. I have worked with hundreds of people, and I can tell you that my clients will tell me that they're working on their brand. And for them, it means they're coming up with a logo, a color palette, they're working on their website, their business card. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, these are visual aspects of the brand. This is not the brand itself. Now, you can influence the brand through these things, but these things are not branding. Let me define branding for you. Branding is a perception that shapes expectation. Experience of that brand determines whether the expectation was justified or not. Branding is the market's interpretation of your authority, value, and credibility. It is formed through visible signals, like your logo, like your brand colors. It is formed through visible signals, repeated positioning, consistent messaging, and measurable presence across platforms. Branding is not what you design. Branding is what others conclude. It's not what you say about yourself, but what people and platforms believe to be true based on the evidence available to them. In the digital age, branding is the collective impression created by your authority signals, reputation, content, media presence, and the consistency of your digital footprint. So in case it's not intuitive enough for you to see it for yourself, let's see how branding emerges from this passage. It starts out with Proverbs 31:10 says, "Who can find a virtuous woman? For her price is far above rubies." Her price is far above rubies. Ladies and gentlemen, this woman's brand is premium, and premium brands command premium prices. I remember when Tiffany had this silver money clip that looked like a paper clip. And for this study today, I looked it up. No, they are not currently offering this product, but it's still available for sale in the market. And this is what it is selling for: a paper clip. They advertised it as a money clip, but it was a paper clip, a silver paper clip for $500. Are you kidding me? But that is what branding does. Branding separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. And this woman was valued. This king said, she is rare. And, ladies, I have to say, this is for me a sad statement. The fact that this woman is rare. I am not trying to put any of us down, but I am asking us to step up our game. She should not be this rare, because we can duplicate this woman at a high level if we so intend to do, regardless of our starting point. But this particular type of woman has a very premium brand, that this king that can have access to everything values her so highly. And some of us are counting on beauty to establish her value. This king did not value this woman based on beauty. Her value was based on everything else but beauty. Beauty isn't even mentioned. So let's talk about the things that we can do, which is basically branding work. So let me tell you what branding work is first from the business perspective. Branding work is probability management. Because remember, we can't make our brand a brand is a perception. So we can't make people have a perception. We can influence it. So branding work is a strategic alignment of positioning, authority signals, and distribution systems to increase the probability that the market interprets you as credible, trustworthy, and category dominant. So here we see a few verses that reinforce this. Proverbs 31 verses 28 to 31 says, "Her children arise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praiseth her. Many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. Favor is deceitful, and beauty is vain. Beauty is vain. Beauty is vain. But a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates." Praise is the branding, because praise is something that others say about you. Praise is not something you say about yourself. When you do that, that is vanity. That is when, it's like blowing your own horn. And while you do need to state some facts about yourselves, the way that it is done can really carry its own signal. But when it comes from other people, that is the highest value of branding. Because remember, branding is perception. But then after someone has experienced your brand, the next part about is it up to snuff? Is what you say about yourself, if someone has experienced you and your work and your being around you, is what they thought of you matching, disappointing, or exceeding what they thought? Wow, she's better than I thought. Oh my gosh, it was all hype. I'm so disappointed. This is where branding is going to set up an expectation, and the experience of the brand is going to justify whether the brand was true to its value perception or disappointing or exceeding it. So praise is the branding. And in this case, it is what others say about you. And a brand is built with authority signals. So for the rest of this lesson, I want to share with you 10 authority signals that the Proverbs 31 model for us that we women can implement right now. Authority signal number 1. This woman is publicly known. Publicly known. Verse 10 says, an excellent wife who can find. She's far more precious than jewels. Immediately we're dealing with her reputation. And when it says, who can find her? It's not because this woman is hidden. People know about her. They talk about her like this because they recognize her value, and her value is rare. She's not hidden. When it says who can find her, she's not hidden. We need to come out of hiding. But when you are visible to the public, what are they going to say about you? In her case, she is so rare that that is what is said about her. This is her nom de valeur. This is her name of value. Authority signal number 2, trust transfer. It says the heart of her husband trusts in her. Trust is one of the highest authority signals. Notice the verse didn't say her husband supervises her. It says her husband trusts her. And when you have trust, you have amazing autonomy. Autonomy as a woman. Trust allows for delegation without supervision. Trust allows for influence because you're running your show and your husband is going to trust you, or your customers are going to trust you. The public is going to trust you. So trust transfer, it gets transferred from someone else to her, from her to others. Trust transfer is a huge authority signal. Authority signal number 3 that we get from this woman is economic proof signals. Now, this is where many of us are getting into somewhat of a trap. And I have to admit, this was one of the areas that I don't know if it's a struggle, it's a decision. So when my money was a little bit different, I really was not one to want to flash anything that would, draw attention to myself or needed to prove to anybody about anything. And I still feel that way. However, it says of this woman, she considered a field and buys it. Now, when you have certain investments, people know about them. So if you decide to drive so if you decide to drive a Rolls Royce, for example, that's going to be a visible economic proof signal. But there are other ways to have economic proof signals without being flashy. I, for one, have no intention of being flashy. So if I ever make it to that point, you may not be the wiser because I am not inclined to have those kinds of economic proof signals. However, if you own something, it may become publicly known. And certainly her investment decisions were not wishing or dreaming. These were executed. So economic proof signals are also an authority signal. And this is why some people go to lengths to flash the Michael Kors, the Louis Vuittons and so forth. But I promise you, people of high wealth, they are not sporting these huge branding logos because they are not going to promote the brands of others. And when they wear those expensive things, check it out. They are wearing muted signals. They are wearing things that if you know, you know. They're not flashing and like that. So I'm just throwing that out there. Authority signal number 4, market recognition. It says she perceives that her merchandise is profitable. This is fascinating to me. She's not just productive. This woman understands value, she understands her market, and she understands profitability. We're not going to go too deep into this, but she understands product market fit. Too many of us are trying to fit square pegs in round holes, meaning you're trying to force your offer on the market. Instead, you should work from the market and tailor your offer to the market. We're not going to go into that, but authority signal number 4 is market recognition. She understands product market fit. Authority signal number 5. She creates reach beyond herself. Now, I'm often talking about influential reach. If you follow me, influential reach is the bedrock foundation of everything I do. Everything that I do in my current business stems from influential reach. If you know me to be on TV, influential reach. If you know that I'm a brand consultant, influential reach. If you know that I have influence media news, influential reach. Influential reach is the bedrock of everything. This is my definition of influential reach, because today in the influencer status, it's like how many followers you have, but that's not my definition of influential reach. Influential reach in my ecosystem is the transformational impact across an ever expanding audience base. So for the Proverbs 31 woman, it says she makes linen garments and sells them. We just talked about product market fit. It means if she's selling to an audience, she has to have an audience beyond her immediate friends and family. Okay, because it says she's profitable. She has never met people she has never met before are buying and benefiting from her work. She is selling in the marketplace, and she is constantly selling to the point of profitability, which means she has influential reach. She is selling. It talks about her trades and all of those things. So she is a woman of profitability, and she's creating influential reach beyond herself. If you don't continuously do the work to expand your audience base, your sales are going to grind to a halt. You need to constantly expand your influential reach. Authority signal number 6. She does have a strong personal brand. It says, the king says of her, strength and dignity are her clothing. This is the king speaking of this rare woman. He did not mention her silk, her jewelry, her fashion. Her reputation was her brand. Strength and dignity are her clothing. Strength and dignity are personal labels of the woman. Okay, so when people think of her brand, they think of her strength, her dignity, her wisdom, her preparation. And that, again, is exactly what a personal brand is. It is how people see you. Authority signal number 7. This woman is a content creator. She is a content creator. It says she opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. What is she doing? She's teaching. She's sharing. She's transferring knowledge. She's creating an intellectual nutrition in the information ecosystem. And ladies, your content creation is going to help with that, building that influential reach and building that brand before people even experience you. So you do need to be a content creator, but be a content creator with wisdom and kindness. Authority signal number 8. Others amplify her. This is huge. This woman is not praising herself. Others praise her. Her children rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. These are testimonials, third-party validation, trust transfer, social proof, authority signals. Listen, you need to be collecting your testimonials, screenshotting them, getting video testimonials, be on media and let others share about your stuff. Let others say good things about you. And if someone has, collect it as the evidence. So you don't have to say, I'm the best, I'm the best. Let others say it of you. Others amplify her. Authority signal number 9. Her reach extends into leadership. It says her husband is known in the gates. Now, the gates were where the leaders gather. Now, this is where it might create a bit of theological challenge. I'm going to state that up front. Please connect with your spiritual leader, because the evidence that is here is not concrete, and it can be interpreted in multiple ways. You see, one could argue that this woman's stewardship strengthened the influence of the entire household. She wasn't simply successful, she created lift. Now, by virtue and extension of that, if the wife was an embarrassment, was creating a bad reputation, would affect her husband in the same way. So if she is a woman of notable reputation, it's going to also positively impact her husband, because this is where the theological extrapolation could be on. We could argue, and I'm not going to argue. I'm just going to say how one potential interpretation is that this is rather an observation rather than a theological declaration here. Somebody could say Dennis Beerman is married to Dr. Trudy Beerman. This is not an insult to my husband. It doesn't diminish his accomplishment. It simply acknowledges my reputation and creates an extension of reputation beyond those around you. I grew up as Dr. Gallimore's daughter, Sonia Gallimore's daughter. People didn't even remember my name. So sometimes the wife's reputation, if it doesn't lift, it can also drop. So I'm not saying she made her husband because he was a leader in the gates, but her reputation certainly didn't hurt. Okay. So when a lot of mostly preachers are men, and they're going to say her husband is known in the gates because he is an important man. And so it might seem to say that, because he's important, she's important. But the text does not necessarily support that. It doesn't tell us why this man is known. It doesn't tell us that. It says he's a leader in the gate. But it could possibly be that this wife's activities lifted him as well. It certainly didn't hurt. Okay, so reputation creates lift, but reputation can also damage. So many a man has been embarrassed by his wife, and this man is at very least supported and lifted by the activities of his wife. So let's get to authority signal number 10. It says she laughs at tomorrow. And for some people, they see optimism, but what I see, because I kind of discussed this last week in the lesson, in looking at the mindset, when she laughs at tomorrow, it's because this woman has built systems. She was prepared, she was resilient, and she was a woman of authority. Because of that, her preparation, and we discussed that in detail last week, this is why she was able to laugh at tomorrow. So my brand, my trademark, Reachology, this is how I would interpret all of this through the Reachology lens. The Reachology, the Proverbs 31 woman built authority signals, proof signals, trust signals, economic signals, leadership signals, family signals, stewardship signals, and influence signals. All of these created an outcome of what I call a nom de valeur, a good name which is far more valuable than riches itself. It said of her that her value was above rubies. So her value was in exceeding the rarest gems in the world. So this woman did not chase attention, but yet she was still highly respected. Her reputation was built on observable evidence, ladies. You need to stop hiding. It was built on observable evidence. People didn't trust her because she claimed to be excellent. People trusted her because they could see she was excellent. They could see her stewardship. They could see her wisdom. They could see she was prepared. They could see her impact. And by the way, if they can see it, they can trust it. And this is what an authority signal is, hidden in plain sight with the Proverbs 31 woman. Your next steps, should you choose to take them, is to go back through these 10 authority signals and see where you can amplify them if they're already in place or add them if they're missing. I certainly am. Because for me, this lesson was not something I'm bringing to you. This lesson was a study first for me. I'm talking to myself first before I'm talking to you. I am absolutely my own audience of this study. So for some of you, you need to ramp up your content creation, but some of you need to get your clients to give you the testimonials or screenshot them or put them on your website. Stop waiting for people to observe you and give you the referrals. You're hoping that, it's just your work's going to speak for itself. That's not going to happen. You are going to have to make your expertise known and then ask those people who have had a good experience to give you those authority signal proofs. You need to build your authority signals. And in real life, expertise, wisdom, skills, and services that you have are a solution to someone. Be like the Proverbs 31 woman and build an audience base of buyers. Your expertise, wisdom, skills, services, your offer is a solution to someone. So be like the Proverbs 31 woman. Work on building your base of buyers. And for you to determine how discoverable you are online, because guess what, guys? If you're counting on the geographic location of referrals of people who are referring you in your little network of people, I promise you, people, even if they're 2 doors down from you, they're starting their search online for exactly what you do. Even if you are right in their neighborhood, they don't know you exist, you don't know they exist, they're going to start their search online unless they get that personal referral. But if you depend on just the personal referrals, that is going to be a very small window. So if you are interested in learning how discoverable your offer and you are online, consider taking my Reachology score. A link will be in the description for you, because what it is going to do, it is going to receive what is absolutely true about you in real life and find its online match, or show you the gap, show you that aspect about you, which is true about you in life, is not discoverable online. And if the algorithm can't find you, it can't recommend you. So that may be what is blocking your influential reach and blocking your brand and reputation from growing outside of your circle of peers. Dr. Trudy Beerman here. Join me next week. We're going to look at blind guides, the wild, wild west of the coaching industry. Thank you for joining me live or later, and I do look forward to connecting